Hello. I have to fix my camera because it's all wonky, crazy. I'm usually the one that's wonky and crazy. So let's hope that stays. I'm going to share this in my group. It's Soul Session Saturday. Hello. Your intuitive energy healer, spiritual growth catalyst, and ascending earth creatrix. Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to go ahead and share this in my group. Bear with me while I do. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Saturday. I am. I just taught my Channeling the Divine Masterclass this afternoon. If you want to learn how to channel, bring in the highest frequencies, energies possible and available to you at this time. I am teaching a class on that. There are some ladies who have asked me to teach it again next month, so I probably will be. So I'm going to be coming at you with a date on that pretty soon. But for now, I want to talk about one of my favorite things to talk about, and that is spiritual sidestepping, otherwise known as spiritual bypassing, glossing over your reality, self-deception, self-denial. All of those words would work to explain kind of the same energy of what spiritual sidestepping is. So I am, for those of you who don't really know what I do or what I talk about or what I teach or what I coach about, who I mentor and why and what I mentor people in, I have a good deal of knowledge and working knowledge, wisdom, information, education on spiritual expansion, spiritual evolution. I have been a Reiki practitioner, energy healer. I've been a hypnotherapist. I have been a mentor, a coach, intuitive energy healer in many different facets, but I also channel divine energies. One of the things I'm really passionate about teaching at this time, because I want people to do it in a way that's safe and protects them and protects the people they're working with. I talk about a lot of concepts, especially about spiritual expansion, but in the let's just say the confines, or in the way of talking about ascension. I love talking about planetary ascension. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. I've received and let's just say downloaded or accessed a lot of information about ascension energies over the last year and a half. So I love to talk about it, and I love to teach about it. I love to teach classes about it, and I love to mentor people individually on it as well. And I also, not just talking about ascension energies, but I also teach classes on how to take these kind of out there concepts. For some of us, maybe the idea of ascension and planetary ascension is an out there concept, and then bring it in, funnel it in such a way, or distill it in such a way so that it crystallizes in your reality, so that it makes sense, so that I can kind of close the gap in between what sounds like a nebulous concept and sounds really out there, but give you a language or an understanding around these concepts, so that it can land with you and you can understand what's happening. And you can understand what is happening for you in your everyday life as we all go through this planetary ascension process. No one is impervious to it. No one. I don't care how spiritually evolved you are. If you happen to be a human being having a human experience on this dense energetic plane at this time, you are experiencing ascension consciousness in one way or another. So what this means for us is really kind of interesting. It means that there are certain flares of awareness. There are certain explosions of awareness as we are going through this very accelerated tract of planetary ascension energies. What's happening is we are becoming much more aware of the contrast in our experience, in our everyday experience. This means if we are wanting to live a certain way in our lives, let's just say, we are asking for certain things. Maybe we're asking for more financial prosperity, more abundance, more love, more support, a better relationship, whatever that is. We are understanding very keenly, we're developing a very keen awareness that whenever we ask for that, whenever we ask for more, whatever that is, that also means that part and parcel, coming right alongside of it, is that you will be shown very clearly whatever resistance you're holding that keeps you from having that or calling that more, whatever that is, in. Otherwise, what you're asking for, that more that you are asking for, would already be here, right? So if you believe in things like instantaneous manifestation, which I do, it can happen, I've seen it, I've experienced it firsthand. If you believe that that can happen, and if you believe that you live in a generous and supportive and loving universe that wants to give you more abundance, that wants to give you more prosperity, that it can come into you right away, if you believe that, then you will also believe that if you don't have it already, that must mean that there's something in the way, right? A barrier, some sort of layer of resistance that is in the way from you calling it in, fully receiving it, okay? So let's just say we agree on these concepts. Hi, Olivia. Let's just say we agree that this happens, okay? So if you are asking for more, and you are scratching your head every single day like, well, why isn't this coming? Why isn't this coming? Why isn't this coming? I want this. I'm, getting in the space of what it feels like to have it, which is a really important thing because we understand that we translate essence, the feeling of something, into form really, really quickly on this accelerated manifesting plane. We understand that if it's not showing up, if what we're asking for is not showing up, or if it's not a physical thing, if it's not an object, maybe it's a way of being. Maybe it's a way of understanding your surroundings. Maybe it's a way of healing the wounds of your past. Maybe it is becoming more emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally more evolved in some way, shape, or form. If it's not showing up, yet you're still in this place of, well, I'll just keep hoping. I'll just keep hoping that's going to show up. I'll just keep going into the space of like, I'll be happy, I'll just be happy, I'll get in the essence of what it feels like to have it. And this is not, I'm not knocking this stuff, by the way, this is good stuff. But here's what happens. Here's where we get into a little bit of trouble with this. So I like Abraham Hicks, okay? Many of you who are on this path of spiritual evolution and creating new ways of being, you're on the Abraham Hicks tip too. And you like what he, it, Abraham, she, Esther Hicks talks about. I do too, all right? But what is coming through with those transmissions and what they are largely talking about is only a part of the story, okay? I see people misinterpreting all the time that we just have to be happy. We just have to align with the essence, the energetic of what it feels like to have this thing, to be this thing, to do this thing. And yes, that is true, but again, it's only part of the story. Looking at the fact that if you don't have it, if you keep lining up with this energetic all the time of what you want to be, do, or have, and yet it's still not coming, but you're fighting that by saying, nope, I'm just going to be happy, I'm just going to be in my happy place, I'm just going to hope that it comes in, I'm just going to keep going into this energetic. I'm going to keep aligning with what it feels like to have this thing, but I'm not looking at any of the other shit that I have that is probably, most likely, definitely in resistance to me calling this in fully and completely. Oh. Gasp. Catherine, do you mean you're not one of those energy healers that's just going to magically blow smoke up my ass and tell me that like everyone else, just align with the energetic and it'll come. You're a being of light on this planet and everything is wonderful and you're aligned with Source, and when you're not aligned with Source, that means your stuff isn't coming to you. So all you have to do is align with Source. Yeah, okay, that's partly true. But here's the other part of that truth that we oftentimes are in self-deception about, we're in self-denial about, we don't want to look at, we'd rather just be like la 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 la, right? Is our stuff, our shit, our beliefs that are aligned with lack, our beliefs that are aligned with scarcity, our beliefs that are aligned with, I'm a crappy person, I've done crappy things, I have crappy people around me. I do crappy things in my everyday life. I have crappy behaviors, bad habits. I'm not worth very much. I don't value myself. Nobody else values me. Why should I? All this other stuff that may be going on within your consciousness needs to be looked at. It needs to be excavated. It needs to be examined. You cannot do this without self-awareness. And I know awareness is one of those words that in these spiritual circles gets bounced around a lot. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Well, do you know why it gets bounced around a lot? It's because it is so important to have this. And this is where change begins. So if you are asking for more, I want more, this, that, the other thing, I want to be, do, have this, that, or the other. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. What you want, let's just say it's money. You want more money. You want more financial abundance. Money doesn't care about your self-worth or lack of it. Money doesn't care if you value yourself or not. Money doesn't care if you have mommy and daddy issues. Please don't think I'm being harsh or insensitive. I want you to just hear this, and I want this to hit on a level where this is going to make a difference within you, because we are acting as if this stuff doesn't matter. We are acting as if the stuff that we're wanting to call in is not simply a projection of how we're feeling on the inside. So money in and of itself, let's talk about the money example, it doesn't hold any energy other than what you project upon it. So if you believe in your mind that money will only come if you heal your mommy and daddy stuff, if you heal your value and your self-worth issues, if you heal your energy and say, well, I just have to be, love and light all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time, and then money will come. But you're not looking at any of the other stuff that you're feeling and you're holding on to. And money, again, it won't, if you heal this stuff, that doesn't mean it'll necessarily come. You have to link up with the frequency of what money feels like. But the reason you can't hook up with what the frequency of money feels like is because you have all this stuff that you're in total self-deception and total self-denial mode about. So how can you get into that energetic? It's sending counter-intentions and counter-intending energy. Meaning, a counter-intention is, if you are wanting something, you're wanting to call in, hey Sarah, you're wanting to call in one thing, and you understand, let's just say you have to line up with that energetic and get into that essence, that frequency of what, let's just say again, what more money feels like. Great, you know how to do that. But at the same time, the way you're showing up in the world every day and in every way is totally aligning with lack. Your words are, I don't have enough, I'm not enough. Your words are, money never comes to me. You're talking in finite terms of never, always, and should. Okay? This is the most self-limiting language and way of expressing yourself verbally that you could possibly do or act on every single day or say. I should do this. I never do this. This always happens to me. Think about what counter-intentions you may be creating in your everyday life and start examining your stuff right there. Start thinking about what it is you want, and then thinking about what it is that you're doing every day. Not necessarily just the thoughts and the feelings, well, that stuff is important, but how are you showing up in the world? How are you acting as if this money, whatever you want, or this new way of being is already here? And when you are acting as if, how forced does it feel? Meaning, do you feel like, no, I just have to be happy, 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 love and light all the time, just spraying sunshine out of my butt everywhere, everywhere I go and in everything that I do. But it's too painful for me to look at my stuff. It's too painful for me to look at why I don't have what I really want yet. It's too painful to me to try to unravel or deconstruct the patterns that I've had, these patterns of thoughts, of beliefs, of feelings over years and years and years. It's too painful for me to look at that stuff. Well, therein, sweetheart, lies the crux. Because that is why you don't have what it is that you want. And if you are constantly spiritually sidestepping because that's what all this stuff is. What I'm talking about here, this is spiritually sidestepping. Just saying, well, Abraham Hicks says I just need to line up with the energetic of what I want and it'll show up, and stop worrying about all the other stuff. Well, I'm not talking about marinating, bathing in the energies of what makes you sad or depressed or filled with grief or filled with fear or panic or anxiety, grief or loss. I'm not talking about suffering. I'm talking about looking at your stuff, creating real, true awareness, like, I believe that. I totally believe it. And I know I believe it because I act every day on it in my life. I can see the behavior. The proof is in the pudding. If I believe that I'm not enough and I'm showing up every day talking about how miserable my life is and how I'm never lucky and how nothing ever comes my way, nothing good ever comes my way, guess what? That will be your truth. You are spiritually sidestepping if you're not willing to create awareness. You're not willing to connect the dots between I believe this, I feel this, I act on this. Because that means exactly what you're doing when you link all those dots, connect all those dots. It's creating a pattern, a program that the universe is reading, this is who she wants to be. Because look at how many different ways she's corroborating this way of being. Through her thoughts, through her beliefs, through her feelings, through her actions. Start looking at your stuff. You can't make real change. You can't create real lasting transformation in your life unless you're willing to look at your stuff. You can't sidestep it anymore and call it spiritualism. You can't bypass it anymore and say, well, I'm just aligning with Source all the time. You know what? Anger, being angry, can also be aligning with Source. We live in a universe with just talking about planet Earth and what exists on planet Earth, if you believe that planet Earth is connected to Source and human beings are connected to Source, look at the grand emotional spectrum that exists here on planet Earth. Man, it goes from A to Z and everywhere in between. You've got grief and loss and panic and anxiety and anger and hatred, mourning, suffering, struggling, all the way down at the other end of the emotional spectrum. And then we gradually climb that up in degrees, all the way up to joy, love, and light. And we know how, as human beings, to experience everything in between. And if we haven't had some personal experience of it, we know someone that has. So we can sympathize or we can empathize. Right? How is any of that, any point on that emotional spectrum, how is that not connected to Source? Don't you believe that everything we experience is a filtration of something that comes from a greater omniscient creator aspect or greater being in this world, a greater vibration, if nothing else? If you don't want to call it God, you don't want to call it Source. I mean, we are creating it and perpetuating it here down on this plane. But we knew when we came here that part of being in this sandbox, in this grand experiment of being on planet Earth, was to experience everything, to experience all the feels, even if that means anger, because anger is a degree of moving up that emotional spectrum towards more joy, love, and light. Experiencing true loss and just going to that place where you just feel lost and you feel all the feels of it and you say, yeah, okay, I know what this is like. I see the contrast that this is providing for me. I see the fact that if I stay in this loss, it is keeping me from having all these other things that I want in my life. That contrast is that what I call that gift in the garbage. We need that. We need that contrast. So when you're spiritually sidestepping, you're spiritually bypassing your emotional experience, which is a large part of our experience here on this planet, by the way. You are removing yourself from your own humanness, from your own filter of moving into or being able to provide yourself a way to get a different experience. Feel the contrast. Feel how that puts you at odds with the two different feelings of where I'm at and where I want to be. Only when you allow yourself to be in that space can you bridge the gap in between those two places. Anything else is spiritual sidestepping, and it keeps you stuck. And that is an illusion too, because there is no such thing as being stuck. We're always moving forward. But sometimes moving forward means keep thinking the same things over and over and over again and hoping for something to change when it doesn't. Because we're always thinking new thoughts. But if your thought that you keep thinking, maybe you're creating new thoughts, but it's all around this general idea of lack or scarcity or what you don't have, it may feel like stuck, right? But in a sense, you're just creating new ways of being that are aligned with lack. Does that make sense? I know that sounds a little out there. But if you're not allowing yourself the contrast, if you're totally in that place of spiritual sidestepping where you're just like, I'm in total self-denial about what's really going on in my life, the people that are in my life, the situations that are happening right now, the things I'm feeling on a daily basis, the thoughts I'm thinking on a daily basis, that is spiritual sidestepping. And it puts you in this Groundhog Day, that movie with Bill Murray, that Groundhog Day type scenario. You'd be scratching your head thinking, why is nothing changing? Why is nothing moving? So if you had the tools to be able to unravel this stuff, it would feel a little easier, yeah? If you had a means for breaking this stuff down in degrees, because we often think that, facing the stuff that I'm talking about today can feel really overwhelming, and it can hit you in the feels, and it can hit you where you live, and it makes you think like, oh my God, I have so much work to do. But do not despair. Do not despair. Think about it this way. Think about it in terms of you want to move up that emotional spectrum in a gradual, integrated way where you can feel all the feels as you go up that ladder. And it's not because you have to suffer or struggle to get up that emotional spectrum ladder to a better way of being or feeling. It's that you will appreciate the journey more and understand more about yourself as you unravel or deconstruct things about your experience in degrees. So when, for instance, in the Heal Awaken Align Bootcamp, which I'm teaching right now, and I'm going to be teaching it again in July, what I am walking the women through right now is a process of, let's break this shit down in degrees. Because number one, you won't get so overwhelmed that you'll just feel like, screw it, I'm not going to do anything. Because when we feel like it's so big, we'll procrastinate, we'll deny ourselves, we will disavow our humanness and not look at where we are, not celebrate the fact that by the very virtue of us being human means we appreciate and understand this growth spectrum of being at different points on the emotional spectrum as we evolve, spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever. You are not allowing yourself that feeling of enjoying the journey. And your journey of transformation, yes, dare I say, can be enjoyable because you know why? You get to learn things about yourself. So what if you had some tools and resources to break this stuff down, to get out of spiritual sidestepping mode and just say, okay, I can do that. I can break this down in degrees. I can start looking at my life in degrees. Maybe one day I'm looking at this one thing, and another day I'm looking at this other thing, and I'm examining it, I'm sitting with it, I'm meditating on it, I'm chewing on it, right? I'm talking with my friends about it. I'm talking with my coach or my mentor about it. I'm talking about the ladies that I mastermind with about it. Just being in that space moves you out of spiritual sidestepping mode. You don't have to sit in the space of unraveling and that place where it feels uncomfortable and it feels wrong and it feels off and it doesn't feel enlightened, it doesn't feel evolved. You don't have to stay in there. And any coach that tells you you have to is a sadist. But it's important for you to go into that place of feeling all the feels. Allow yourself to just sit with the energy long enough so that you see the contrast and have the awareness of this is where I am and here's how it's keeping me from where I want to be. So what if you had the tools and resources to do that? What if you had a way to break this down into bite-sized chunks? So number one, it doesn't feel overwhelming and you want to scrap the whole thing of your transformation, which is inevitable, by the way. But you can do it in a more comfortable way, in a more planned out way, in a way that you're designing it instead of doing it by default. Because what happens a lot of times, especially if we're in spiritual sidestepping mode forever, we suddenly have these major life shifts that are really uncomfortable because it hits us like a freight train because of what we've been in self-deception or self-denial about for so long. What we've spiritually sidestepped is eventually going to come through. The universe is eventually going to have these bottleneck of messages that to be frank. It's not going to be a surprise to you when it comes in. It's just going to feel really, really intense because you've been denying it for so long, because you've been denying all the messages and the symbols and the signs that the universe has been feeding you in different and creative ways, because it understands you're a creative being and understands that maybe we'll try this way to get this information into her. She's a creative being. Maybe this will make sense now. And you've been, frankly, kind of beaten over the head with it, but you're like, no, la, don't want to look at it, it's too painful. So what's going to happen is that transformation is going to come one way or the other. You can do it in the way that I'm talking about, where you start employing tools and resources and be on board with your transformation, be in league with your transformation, or wait for that freight train to hit you. It's going to come one way or another, and I'm not trying to strike fear in your heart. I'm not trying to give you a hard sell on what I'm doing. I'm trying to help you understand that this is the very nature of who we are and how these things are happening now. You don't have to look much further, right, Sarah, than to understand the celestial events that are happening right now. It's powerful. It's palpable. It's intense. It's hitting us in the feels anyway. So what if you aligned with the intensity of this energy and instead of saying, let the freight train come in, instead you align, you get in league with these energies and say, well, then this is the perfect time for me to release, because all this stuff is coming up anyway. So I can either deny it and wait for that freight train to come, because it will, or I can move and flow with this energy. I can be fluid with it. I can use it as a catalyst for change and transformation. Oh, what a revelation that is, right? So are you spiritually sidestepping? How uncomfortable is that making you? How is that moving you into this place of, or keeping you in this place of stuckness? You're stagnant. You are an ever-evolving, ever-expanding being. It is not your natural state to be stuck or be in that illusion of suffering in stuckness. That is not who we are. And the reason it feels so off is because it's out of alignment with who you are as a spiritually evolving being. As a human being, an infinite being having a human experience at this time. It feels so off. It feels like it's bottlenecking, because it is. Your light is trying to get out. So where is that resistance? What kind of tools do you think could really help you? Maybe something that moves you along with this energy in a really bite-sized way that's feels like you're making progress, but it's not overwhelming. It's not something that's going to take 20 hours a day to do. What if you had the tools and resources to start creating this transformation in a way that feels aligned with your soul being? In a way that helps you look at your mindset, it helps you look at your behaviors, the things that you are enacting and acting on every single day that are aligned with the thoughts that you're thinking, the feelings that you're having. What if you could take all of those things that aren't working for you, that aren't aligned with the way of being that you are asking for, clear that out, and bring in a whole new foundational system of belief and feelings and behaviors and mindset? Think about it. What would you rather have? You get to decide. It's your free will choice. You get to decide. Do you want the freight train? Or do you want to be aligning with these ascension energies when they feel so palpable, so strong, and use them to kind of ride the wave of your own expansion, which is inevitable, by the way? So that's why I'm offering the Heal Awaken Align Bootcamp, ladies. There it is. So you can no longer say, I want transformation, I want to change, and be in spiritual sidestepping mode at the same time. Hopefully, if you watch this whole talk, you understand why that is. If you don't, listen to it again. If you really don't understand how to make these changes on your own, maybe you've been trying to make these changes on your own, it's not working. You feel like you don't have the willpower to do it. Maybe you feel like you don't know the tools or the resources to do it. You no longer have an excuse, because this is what I'm offering, this level of transformation. And it's a 6-week boot camp. It's 12 classes because we're meeting twice a week because I want you to have extra support. It's embodiment exercises so you know what to do and how to show up every day, so that these changes that we're creating as we meet with the live calls, you can take it and translate it and bring it into your everyday life so it makes sense. And you're creating new ways of being, and you're translating that in such a way that you are sending a crystal clear message to the universe saying, this is the way I want to be. See? And this is how I'm showing up every single day. See? And then the universe says, I see this is a new way of being, so I'm going to send her stuff that's in alignment with that new way of being. This is how it works. If you've ever taken a class with me before, you know that I have a really good skill at being able to break this stuff down so you get it, so it lands with you. So wherever you're at on your spiritual journey, I don't care well, I do care because I care about you, but it doesn't matter where you are. This class can help you. This course can help you. Reach out to me. The early bird price is here. If you really want to know what's in this course, I'm willing to jump on a call with you for 20 minutes and talk about if this course is for you or not. Okay? So you can message me on Facebook. You can reach out to me to my email, contact@catherinemissel.com. If you're not on my email list, go to my website, catherinemissel.com, and sign up for the weekly messages. Get more of what I do. See what kind of healing I offer. I have all kinds of ways to get free healing from me that you can check out and see if I'm putting my money where my mouth is, if I'm legit. catherinemissel.com, Meditations and Alignments page. My podcast, the Abundant Intuitive Podcast. My YouTube channel at Catherine Missel. Right here in my Facebook group, Ascending Earth Creatrix, or my Facebook page, Catherine Missel, Ascending Earth Creatrix. All kinds of stuff for healing. But it's time for you to really start thinking about this stuff and start thinking about, if I'm talking to you, that person who's out there that says, well, I want to change. What I'm doing isn't working. I want transformation. Okay, do you really want it? Because that means showing up and doing the work. That means not changing who you are. Ladies, hear me. You do not have to change who you are. You have to change what you do. And there are ways to do that. And you don't have any excuse anymore. If you're saying this is what you really want, that's what this course is offering. Okay? So I want to wish you so much love and light. Have a beautiful soul session Saturday here in the U.S. It's Father's Day. Enjoy being with your dad, if that's the case. My dad is 3,500 miles away, so I'll be calling him tomorrow. Do think about what I said. Do take it to heart. Let yourself feel it in the feels. Okay? So I want to wish you so many blessings. Have a great day, great weekend. Bye-bye.